My name's Alex Patterson. I am the Executive Director here at Brooklands Museum and have been overseeing the Clubhouse access and renovation project. Many of you will know that we're planned to have a new lift installed into the Clubhouse, and work began in late 2018-2019. Unfortunately, the pandemic got in the way and made us pause the whole project. In that pause, we rethought and reimagined what we were going to do, and at the same time, funding opportunity came up through the Museum and Estates Development Fund from Arts Council England that was focused specifically on estates repair and management. So the opportunity came to do a broader project which went beyond just installing a lift into the clubhouse. We already received funding from Elmbridge Borough Council to support the lift project, and the opportunity came up from Arts Council England to apply for a broader amount of money to support the renovation of the clubhouse. As many of you all know, the south balcony was leaking, we had issues with the floor, the timber work was rotting, the tower in itself, the iconic tower of the clubhouse, was in a bad state as well. So we created this larger access and renovation project which got underway last June, and it has been a long slog in one sense, but what a journey it's been. Every time that we opened a door, literally opening up, lifting up tiles, we were finding issues. The challenges of working with a Grade 2 star listed building is that hasn't had long-term investment in, and we're talking, you know, not just when the museum was established and the trust was established in 1987, but we're talking pre that, when British Aircraft Corporation was here, when Barnes Wallis was still working in the clubhouse itself. We've got infrastructure and facilities that predate sort of my birth, you know, many people's births from the 50s onwards, and we've had massive issues. The boiler has failed, so we ended up by putting a new boiler into the clubhouse as well. A huge amount of investment has gone into this building, and you can see now behind me, you know, that investment is paying off. The tower at the top, we are very fortunate. The dome itself, the integrity of the dome is actually was in a really good condition, but the timber work underneath, all the felt flashing, needed sorting out, repainting. We discovered that the original tower itself did not have the felt shingles on, and we decided to take to restore it back to an appearance that it had in the 1930s. The lovely weatherboarding there is painted the colour that it would have been when Malcolm Campbell was here, and we did a paint study to identify the correct colouring, and we're now matching the external woodwork to reflect that colouring as well. Alongside the tower renovation, we've also done all the windows on the Napier room, refurbished all of them. The big crystal windows, which were once the library, which is now the New Lock King room, but all the other windows on the exterior as well, they've been refurbished and repainted and made sure they're now watertight and weathertight as well. So the south balcony has been rebuilt. If you look at the roof, you'll be able to see that there's a new slate roof rather than felt shingles, which makes it much more weatherproof and integrates into the rest of the building as well, reducing the potential for failure and water going in between joins where there once was before. All the timber uprates have either been restored or replaced completely, and have been painted in appropriate external paint, which will now become part of a broader, longer term maintenance cycle. So we've got a new balcony floor which has been installed, which is raised up. So not only does it improve the experience upstairs when you're standing on it or sat on it, but it's actually much better for the building as a whole, improving the drainage and preventing water sitting in between layers and causing potential damp to arise in the rooms below as well. So a huge amount of work has happened outside, but there's also a great amount of work that's happened on the inside as well. And we're going to go have a walk inside, and I can show you the long-awaited lift. So as part of this project, we've also taken an opportunity to do some refreshes on the internals of the clubhouse as well. So a number of you who have been onto site recently will notice that the reception has been repainted. We've got a new reception desk as well, which is now also DDA compliant at 2 levels, which is much better. We're in the process of repainting other sides as well. Our intention is to refurbish the toilets as well and give them a much needed lick of paint and improvement, and we'll be repainting along here as well. Through this window, you'll be able to see what was once the billiard room. This is going to become our bookstore. So where the library was upstairs is no more. So we're going to be able to have this as a closed-off bookstore. And where the art gallery was just across the way, it will become our new reading room, ground floor accessible reading room. We're aware that this is in the floodplain, so we're making sure that when the books are actually installed and the racking is installed, we'll be able to make an allowance for that, so they are off the ground floor, so they should not be impacted by any future flooding incidences if they do happen as well. Now we walk through what was the original billiard room, door, entranceway into the lift lobby, and I'm going to press the button. Hopefully the lift shall arrive.
This lift
And
is
up we
moving
go.
up.
There's a very quick travel. And in we go.
First floor.
So I'm now stood under the roof lantern, which was a hidden gem as part of the old library. What we've got here is the old roof light, which was open all the way down to where the weighbridge was before they built the first floor. Today we've had it completely rebuilt, not refurbished, completely rebuilt, which was a logistical and construction challenge, but one that they overcame, and they were installing it at the back end of last year as well, with a lot of rain and water, but they did an amazing job to get it to where we are now at as well. This has now created an internal circulation space which allows people to access all the different function rooms without having to go through the Bluebird to get into the Napier as well, giving us as an organisation a greater flexibility in what we can do in terms of events and the number of different events to be held at the same time. We've also got a first floor accessible loo for the first time, which means that we don't have to send people downstairs, which is in here. And then all fittings and fixtures are DDA compliant, and then adjacent to that we have the Barnes Wallis bathroom still here, which we have not touched at the moment. We've also taken the opportunity to do some refurbishment on the exteriors. You will see that we've got new carpet on the floor, and actually we've also repainted the walls as well to see the run through of the same decor from in the new spaces all the way through. Now we come up to what was the original accessway up to the first floor, and you will see the stair lift is no more. It has gone. We've got a lovely wide open staircase. We've again replaced all the carpet and improved all of that as well. Let's go to one of my most favourite parts of the whole project, which is the tower. Unfortunately, over the years, we've had to restrict access up to the tower because of the state of the condition that it was in. Over the years, we've had a lot of issues with water coming into the building and seeping in, and it has always been a priority and urgency, but the funding hasn't always been there to be able to do that. As many of you will be aware, we have a historic backlog with our maintenance, with our buildings. We've got such a big inheritance that we took on in 1987, being a post-industrial landscape, which meant that we had services and building materials of high hazardous substances. So the Trust has been working diligently over the years to be able to piecemeal, to be able to replace and repair and clean up. But the tower we haven't been in a position over the years to the tower. There were always concerns around the structural stability of this, but I'm pleased to say through big investigations that were undertaken, including all the I-beams, they're actually in a really, really good condition. You'll be able to see very faintly the areas that were opened up in the original cement platform, which exposed the metalwork, and the metalwork was in very good condition. The areas that were exposed were treated. All the iron girders were treated as well and waterproofed. And that goes all the way on the external side where they protrude onto the podium as well. This used to be chocker full of collections and items. We've now put those collections into the stores. As you can see, we're in the process of doing final works into the water system at the same time, using it as an opportunity to be able to do the completed works on a often inaccessible space and looking at all the wiring and tidying that all up. If we go upstairs, you will then get to which is effectively the icing on the cake. A most glorious view of Brooklands. A wonderful 360-degree panorama of the area. And it is fantastic. It really, really is. There's been a huge amount of transformation in here, with new windows being installed, a new waterproof system put on the outside. We've resolved issues with the cladding, and we've returned the exterior appearance to its original format using weatherboarding as well. Interestingly, doing the historical research, early pictures of the Clubhouse tower show that there was not only a double door here, but there was also a double door on that side as well. We've taken the decision not to return it to that period because it wouldn't match with the rest of the building development. So it's a sympathetic return to late 1930s Brooklands Clubhouse as well. When we go outside, we've got the brand new balustrades that have all been handmade and installed, and rather fixing to the base of the platform, they're actually fitted down into steels as well. So structurally, they're much stronger than they were previously as well. It's all been constructed out of hardwood and have all been treated in appropriate external painting as well. And as I've said previously, this now will start to have a full program of long-term maintenance and planned maintenance to make sure that we can maintain the investment that has been made over the last year or so. If we walk around here, you'll be able to see the lantern from the other side as well. You can see all the lead work that has gone into it, the improvements that have been made, clearing out all the drainage channels as well. So a fantastic job and craftsmanship that has been undertaken. So back at the beginning of 2022, we'd commissioned a study to look at the different options to replace the clubhouse boiler, which included switching to gas, LPG, looking at potentially heat pumps as well, but also the options along with oil. The museum itself is not on mains gas. When you enter the museum, past the admissions building, on the left-hand side as you're walking down towards the Jackson shed, you'll see a fenced-in area, and that's where our gas cylinders are, where we have LPG gas in. If we were to run LPG gas boiler from the clubhouse, we were going to have to dig a trench all the way from the top end of the museum, all the way down through the motoring village to the clubhouse to get a pipeline in as well. And gas prices are fluctuating, as you well know. Probably around about September, we're in the process of refining on what option to go for when the original boiler in here, which was over 30 years old at this point, failed. The main chamber seals had given up the ghost, and when they went to refill it after they'd sorted out some of the central heating in the main as part of the project upstairs, they went back to fill up the central heating system, and the boiler just bled water everywhere, and it was beyond salvageable as well. So we had to move very, very quickly. So we had to take the decision to go with oil, partly because we have another boiler running on the same oil system. We'd already identified that LPG was not going to be appropriate, and heat pumps were going to be far too expensive and probably not delivering what we needed to for the building at this stage as well. So we worked with an external consultant advisors to be able to find the best, most cost-effective and most fuel-efficient oil boilers on the market that were within our price range. We have these two fantastic boilers here now. Going forward, if we have a failure of one boiler, we've always got redundancy and capacity in the other as well. We've had a brand new flue fitted into the building. Complete new infrastructure supporting the boilers themselves. We've had to do quite a bit of asbestos removal in here. As I said earlier on, the building itself has a legacy of hazardous materials that were installed during the 50s and 60s that requires a fair amount of investment to clean and clear away to make us compliant and in a legal and safe way. We've also got a new hot water system as well, a new chlorifier. Has double the capacity and ability than what we had previously, and is much more efficient now as well. So again, this was not necessarily planned expenditure as such this year, but we had to do it, and the opportunity came, and we had to take it. But now, I'm very pleased to say, just in time for summer, we have a brand new boiler.